Hey, what's up, guys? It's BourbonFTW on Full Tilt, and I will be recording the 300 rebuy for y'all. The FTOPS 300 rebuy that happened last year, and I think either March or February. Alright, this is the rebuy period, and as you can see, I have a couple regs on my table. Innocent, Benvo, Demacia I've played with, and BMW M Coupe I've played with a couple times. So I'm going to show the big hands. I played fairly tight during the rebuy. So let's see what happens. And one hand that I play, opening 7-8 suited. And I've known Benvo for a while, so if I play some weird hands against him, it's because we have a good bit of history. And I lead, and I bet the turn, 7-8, I turn a pair, and once he checks the flop, pretty sure he doesn't have much, but he still might call with his hearts and get some value there. And I just fold the king jack. Right now what I'm looking to do is try to double up, obviously. This tournament is really deep, and the structure is really good. So I came in. Usually I'd open 9-6 suited there. I guess I'm not really sure why I didn't. And let's see here. That's a hand that I would also usually play in the big blind. But right here I play a fairly decent pot. With queen jack I raise, Benvo calls. Flop queen high, I'm just going to c-bet. I'm going to bet again. And on the river, I'm going to value bet. So in this hand, there's on the flop, I have so much history with Benvo. I'm going to be c-betting so many flops that he's going to be calling with any tens. And also on the turn and on the river, I'm getting value from basically every single hand that I was betting on the flop to get him to call with. And so we have so much history that, I mean, 3 streets of value there is pretty standard. And let's go to the next hand. I have queen jack off again. And Badger Pro just came to the table, who's also reg. So another hand versus Benvo. I raise, check behind the king high flop. I bet the turn, and he check raises. So, I mean, I can see bet that flop, but I just know that he's going to be calling so much and check raising a lot versus me. So I just decided to check, and he checks the turn. I decided to try to take the pot there, and he check raises big. So I just fold. And let's see, the next hand that I play, I get tens, raise it up to 90, and I take the pot. And then I don't play a pot for a little while. And we'll go to this hand. Queen 9. And I just fold. This table started to play pretty aggressive once Demacia started to tilt. So I do end up with some chips. BMW cube raises, I 3-bet aces, and he folds. So not much happened on that pot. Deuces, raise them up. And BMW cube calls. Flop set. I can check behind there. Not really looking to check behind with 3 spades. Definitely during the rebuy period, I would get it in. And I river full house. And now he leads the river. And obviously I run out of full house. So I just decide to put it, just shove. And hopefully he calls with either a flush or with an ace, or if he backdoors some kind of fours. And hopefully I get some value, and he folds. So I guess he was value betting some kind of ace, or either maybe just bluffing. The next hand that I play is ace 4 diamonds. Badger Pro raises, I call. Sometimes I'd float that flop, but versus him, and he just got the table, I wasn't really Uh, floating right there. I mean, a lot of times I will. I just didn't there. And the quiet winner comes to the table. It's a pretty good reg. So I think we have some interesting hands later on. Badger Pro min raises. I 3-bet Ace King. Benvo's all in, and I'm going to call. And we have the same hand. And yeah, we chop it. So it's pretty standard during a rebuy. And the next big hand I play is Ace 9, raise it up. Two callers. And on this flop, Innocent's pretty tight. He's a good player, but it's pretty tight. It's a 4-way pot. I'm just going to check. And the turn card's pretty good. A couple things I can do here. I'm not really let's see what happens. I just call. I mean, I have a gutter, which still could be good. I have the nut flush draw, obviously, and I have top pair. So my hand definitely could be good here, and I have so many outs if it's not, and I mean, not going to get much value by raising here. And Demasi folds, Jack River, he bets. Wow, that's interesting that I folded. Usually I think I would call there. I don't know why I didn't. The only thing I can think of is I know he is pretty tight, and I don't really think that he's going to be bluffing that river much once I call the turn. Because, I mean, it's a 4-way pot, and once he bets into 3 people on the turn, and then barrels me on the river, I mean, we know each other. He knows I don't like to fold, and I folded. So, I guess I could. The only thing, I mean, calling's not bad, raising's not bad either, except the ace of diamonds. But in a rebuy, people don't like to fold much because you can rebuy. So I just folded. Let's see, and then the next hand I play is 9-7. Quiet winner raises it up. I flop a flush draw, and he just folds. I mean, pretty standard. I can check back the flop. I don't really want to check back the flop much. I just want to be able to bet, and then bet turns, and then see what happens on the river. Just take down the pot there, and hopefully turn a heart. And the next hand, apparently, I lose a pretty decent pot. So I raise Jack 10 of spades, get called by Demasi, and get raised. It's a small raise. I mean, I know Demasi's calling every time behind. And we flop Jack high and get called in 2 spots. Our Tasmanian leads after he raised pre. And so here, I definitely could have the best hand. I have backdoor spades, backdoor straight draws, a lot of backdoors as well. And once they massy calls, I mean, put him. A lot of times it could be a better jack. I mean, it could be 9-10. Not as likely because I have the 10 in my hand, but it also could be some kind of bottom set, or I'm pretty sure he has me beat. So I goes check, I check, Demasi checks, and now this is interesting. Now that Tasmanian checks the turn, and he leads so small on the river. I mean, I guess I'm gonna station call, but I think I decided to call. Once he checks the turn, I'm not too worried about Demasi, and I actually folded. Huh. I'm making tight folds versus Tasmanian, but I guess it would be a bad call. I mean, his range there is better jacks, and I don't even think that he's going to be betting Jack 9 much, or that bet sizing 1/3 pot. It could be, but I mean, I just decided to fold. Guess I was playing pretty tight. Usually I would station call there. I was playing pretty tight during the rebuy, like I said. That was my plan going in, so I decided to stick with it. It's not like that the whole way, though. Ace King suited, raise it up, and we get all folds. That's never fun. All right, next big hand that I play, get aces, raise 150. He just jams, I call, and I win a nice pot. So there's a double up, and that's good. I always like to double up during be like a tournament of this, how deep it is, and it's 300 rebuy, so it's always fun to double. Play a hand with ace king, everyone just folds. Next hand, I get fours, raise it up, everyone just folds again, I believe. And now this hand's in. I have queen nine. I get called in two spots. So I flop a gutter, and there's two people in the pot, and I decide to c-bet. It's just a lot of good turns that I can barrel and get him to lay down a lot of hands, except for even some of his. It's not probably not going to afford a lot of kings, but there's a lot of diamond turns that I can bet, and a lot of good turns and a lot of good rivers that I can barrel him off hands. There's just a spot that I decided to c-bet because I hadn't really been c-betting many hands, and I turn pretty good card, basically the best card in the deck for me. Offsuit jack, and it goes check check. I value bet the river. He goes all in. I call, and he has a 10. So like I said, if I'm betting that flop a lot of times, I would bet the turn as well. I was planning on check shoving the turn against him, and he rivers a 10. And this is when I think he starts to tilt a little bit, and I think I get a lot of chips. So I win that hand. It's a pretty easy call. I really don't think he ever has ace queen or king 10 on the turn when he checks back. So get king queen. Decide to call a quiet winner. Demacy calls, and it's an interesting flop. And I'm going to bet, and I'm gonna gamble. I just doubled up. I mean, he's tilting, and I miss a lot of outs. Any king queen 9 ace. So, it is what it is. Happens. Jack 10, raise it up, everyone folds. I get kings. Bet, call. This hand's interesting. And I decided to, alright, let's replay that hand. Let's make it slower. Kings. Alright. Raise kings, get called by Venmo. Demacy calls. Flop. Check. I bet. Benvo calls. Demacy calls. Turns a 10. I check, which is interesting. Once Benvo calls there, I get called in two spots. The 10 isn't really the best card. It's not a horrible card, but I just know Benvo, and I was actually worried about Benvo here, which is weird, even with kings on this board. So then it wasn't really folding to anybody, but I decided to check, and it goes. Benvo bets 975. Demacy's all in, and it's a pretty easy fold for me now. And Benvo ends up having set of jacks, and Demacy turns to pair and loses. So now he's more tilted. So the next hand, and then chat, you can see it, LOL, what I folded. Fours, he's tilting, he's all in, I'm calling. And I need to win a race, and I flop him basically to a gutter, to his wheel draw. And now I'm up to 9K, which is nice. Next hand I really play is aces. Looks like I'm just card racking. C-bet against Demacy, bet. I was just gonna bet. I mean, because I know he's on that flop, the way he's playing, or had been playing, he's check raising a jack there all day, and I don't think he was gonna fold many tens. Apparently, he had tripled up, so he had more chips. So I wasn't too worried about that. Raise king queen suited. Everyone folds, I believe. And now I'm starting to make it not 3x. Now we're 40-80. Make it 187. Usually I'll do that around this blind level. I mean, it's a pretty competent table too, so. Queen 10, I check. I decided to lead. This guy had just recently got to the table. I call with queen 10 out of the small blind. Check on, he checks back the flop. I decide to lead the turn because I think that I just win the pot a lot, and I'm pretty sure he's c-betting a lot of aces on the flop with his gutter and any overpairs, and I just think he has a hand that he just has to fold on the turn. That's basically the only way I can win the pot, and he folds. So, and then ace 10 on the button, he calls. Check, check. I'm going to bet this turn, and he folds. So I had to check back the flop because just a lot of hands you can check raise, and I want him to bet turns. And I'm inducing bets with ace high on the turn. And once I turn that, I pretty much want him to call with any of his club hands or anything that I beat. So I decide to bet the turn, and I take it down there. And I win a decent pot. And I have ace-6 suited. I think this hand is really interesting. Actually, this is a really interesting hand, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I have ace-6 of spades. A lot of times I'll raise this and just get it in the rebuy period, or in general. And I have a straight flush draw, gutter. I have a flush draw, straight flush draw, and a gutter draw. So I have a lot of outs, obviously. So I just a call. I just don't think I can get it in very well against Quiet Winter. He hadn't been too aggressive. And there's just a lot of hands, I can just take it down the turn a lot if I miss, and it's just a lot of I can even mask my hand, if I turn anything. And we turn a 9. Good turn. He checks. I bet 645. Now it just looks like I'm floating, because that's the same thing I would do with a lot of ace highs, a lot of any kind of draw or anything. There's just a lot of hands that I would float with and bet about 6/10 pot or 3/5 pot on the turn. He calls. Now I'm putting him on something like queens, or maybe even queens, or like some ace 10, jack 10, or something like that. River's a 6. Obviously, I'm going to bet. I'm probably going to bet a little bigger than I would. So 1400 is what I come up with. And he takes forever. Talks about, God, you have 9-8, folds. I think later on he told me he folded queens or jacks or something like that. I think I talked to him at 8 a.m. and I told him I had 6-8 of spades, and at first he didn't really believe me, but that's what I had. And so it's kind of a bad river for me. It's a really bad river for me. It lost me value. But I like the way I played the hand, and you gotta switch up the way you play a lot of hands, especially versus regs that you play with all the time. So win a nice pot there. And the next pot that I play, I think I just raise king 8 on the button and get 3-bet, and I fold. Or I get called by Bembo, and I check behind, and we check again, and I think he has the best hand. I mean, I know him. I know he's going to be checking. He's going to expect me to bet so much there. I know he's checking so many hands that I get crushed by, so I just decide just to check. I'm not even going to stab at that. In this hand, Quiet Winter raises blind versus blind. I have ace jack. Obviously, I can raise, but there's a lot of I'm playing in position with the hand that plays really well and crushes his opening range. So I flat. Flop is 4-9-3. I have the ace of diamonds. I decided just to check back. Most likely I have the best hand all the time. So I turn a jack. He checks. Now I'm betting. Bet 728. I have the nut flush draw and top pair. Top. He calls. River's a 10. Not too worried about anything. Don't really think he ever has king queen. If he does, he's going to be probably check shoving, or he might even lead. But at this point, I'm value betting, and I value bet, and he calls, and he has ace 9. So it's actually a good check on the flop, because probably wouldn't be able to continue. I might have got check raised if I c-bet, and it's a good turn, and I get value on the river because he put me on a busted flush draw. So and I win another nice hand. Now I'm up to 9,700. And I just have the next hand I play, I call and I just check fold with the ace deuce suited. So now that I have a lot of hands, like this structure, I believe it was 20 minute levels, or I can't exactly remember, but I remember going deep. We had so many chips. So in the beginning, like I said, I was just playing tight, and I guess I played a good bit of hands, but I was running pretty good and chipping up, which is always nice in these tournaments. So then I raise sevens. Everyone folds. I raise queen. I think I get a walk with queen 10, or do I 3-bet? Let's see. I don't know who Kurt Watkins is, so. And Badger Pro had been raising my big blind, so I just decided to 3-bet queen 10. And just try to win that pot there. So now I'm up to 15K. The only person that has me covered is Benvo on my left, who I have massive amounts of history with. I grew up playing with. And so right now, really just trying to chip up a little bit, not trying to get into huge pots with Benvo. I probably have like a top 10 stack right now in the tournament. So here's another hand that I play. Get pocket threes in the big blind. Badger Pro raises. This time I'm probably just going to flat. Could check raise this flop, but well, I guess I do check raise this flop. So it's a good flop to check raise. Because he's c-betting this flop a lot also, and his range on the button is really wide, and I mean, he knows I'm not gonna be folding many flush draws in my stack, and he just has to kind of fold king queen and any queen jack or anything that he's c-betting, any pair. So basically that's the only way I can win the pot with threes. And I check raise and he shoves and I fold. So it didn't work out. And I open jack 8 suited. Everyone folds. Here's an interesting hand with king 10. So Demasi opens. Get a lot of calls. I decided to call in the small blind. King 10 7 flop, really good flop, obviously. Everyone checks. I'm leading the turn now. And I decided to value bet the river. So on this hand, I could lead the flop, but there's 3 people behind. I figured someone would bet, and depending on who it was, I was either check raising or flatting. And 6th turn. Now I definitely have to lead. There's just too many hands that I just don't want to give free cards to, or not enough people are going to be betting that card after they check behind the flop. I mean, it doesn't change that much unless they have 8-9. So I bet Demasi calls. At this point, I'm pretty sure he has like either a 10 or some hand like that. And on the 9, if he has an 8, if he has some hand like 6-8 or 7-8, then obviously he gets there. But I like bet folding a lot better than any other option. Queen Jack gets there, but I'm pretty sure he's betting Queen Jack on the flop. So I try to get some value. Maybe even has a king, like King Jack or something like that. Hopefully, if he had King 9, he'd river 2 pair. So I bet he folds, and I win another nice pot. We have King 9. Demasi leaves. I think he just lost another flip and decided not to rebuy. So he's gone. And your band B comes in the first hand he 3-bets. I have no idea who he is, so get deuces flat, and I just fold the flop. Get kings. RKUOK came. I think that's B Hanks. He's a really good player. Flop top set. Check behind. Turn quads. I'm running pretty good. So on this hand, Kurt Watkins calls. I decided to check back the flop. Switch it up instead of c-betting. Turn quads. He leads into me. I just call. River's a jack. I'm going to bet pretty big. It looks like it could be a busted flush draw or a lot of hands. I'm pretty sure that any size bet here from him on the bigger size me better, because I think he's calling either if it's like 600 or 1100. I could even bet more, but he calls. And he has Queen Jack. So I guess I would have got it in the flop if I bet, but that's, just switching it up. And quads are good. So I'm up to 18K. And get deuces again. Raise it up. This guy 3-bets me. And I get 4-bet, and I just fold. I actually was gonna shove on him. Your band B, I remember that hand. If I want to get 4-bet by Badger Pro, just because he came to the table and he's already 3-bet quite a bit. So Jack A suited, everyone folds. Let's see if there's any other big hands that I play. It's not really big hands, just raising, taking, or raising, getting 3-bet, nothing more than a couple big blind pots. Let's see this hand. So I get queen 10, get called 2 spots. I'm gonna c-bet that. It's a good board to c-bet. They're calling out of blinds, and I'm raising under the gun. I can rep pretty good there, and so I c-bet, take it down. And this is a big pot that I play. I have ace 8 off, raise the button. He goes all in, I'm calling. It's pretty. I mean, in a rebuy when I have so many chips, it's not a hard call. I mean, he's gonna be gambling. I think this is the end of the rebuy period also. So I call pretty quickly and I win a pot. So get some more chips. And then I don't play that many hands for a while. Right now we're at hand number 191. And I think at about, let's see, the next big hand that I play is at hand number 231. So, I get switch tables. All right, hold on. Actually, let's go back. It's got to be a big hand that I. All right. So I get switch tables. All right. After that ace 8 hand, I get moved to a new table. With Princess Donk, Bitch, I might be SB Rounder, Max Shark. So, familiar with 3 out of the 4. So, and yeah. So let's see what happens to this table. And right now we're around 230. Let's go to a big hand that I play. So I chip up to 21K, and I'm actually probably bluffing. He comes, who's a really good player. I position on him. And DeMurder comes in and decides to 3-bet me. One of the first hands. He's a super aggressive player. I have a lot of history with him. So I decided to 4-ball jam, and he calls with King Queen. Just a lot of history there. I mean, he knows that I'm going. My 4-betting range there is pretty wide against him. So he calls with King Queen, and it's a flip, and I win. So now I have even more chips. I have 32K at 122.40. Get ace deuce under the gun and raise. So this is about a time where it's getting to be around the middle of a tournament, and it's after the rebuy period, and I have a bunch of regs on my table. I don't know who LH Dallas is or Max Shark, but Princess Donk is she's pretty good. Reg that I've played with quite a bit. She's pretty aggressive, actually. Probably bluffing you is a good player, and SP Rounder is. And so now I decide to probably bluffing you is raising the button so wide. I 3-bet ace deuce off, and he 4-balls me. We also have a lot of history, so I fold. And so the dynamics of this table, I have a pretty good read on what my dynamics are with people. At least these people. Maybe not everyone, but at least these people I have an idea. So let's see if any interesting hands come up. I get 5. No. All right, this hand is a pretty big hand. Get ace king suited. Raise again. LH Dallas calls. Max Shark folds. So it's a pretty good. I actually decide to check call this board. I'm going to do it a lot. My intentions were to. What my thought process was, LH Dallas is going to be betting that flop so many times with a super wide range of hands, and his king's ahead of it, and there's just a lot of turns that I can take it away on, and I turn it. It's a pretty good turn. I turn the ace of clubs, and there's 3 club board. So I actually check. I check call, and I was actually going to check call the river. So I was ahead on the flop, like I said, um, and I forget where he's from. I think I might have OPR'd him, and or it's just a lot of times on that flop. I just know people are going to be c betting so much, and I'm ahead with ace high, so I could check raise. I mean, I'll do that too, but a lot of times. But in that spot, I decided to check call, and I was going to check call the river most likely as well, just depending on how much you bet and everything. So I mean, I was trying to get him to bluff, and he checks back, and I went in a nice pot. So now I guess my image for on that is pretty interesting. And I play the next hand I play is ace jacks, pretty standard. Button raise. And I lose a pot with jack 7 off. I raise it up, get called by SB Rounder. SB Rounder's good. I think he's on the tighter side. I flop a gutter. This is interesting. Decide to lead the gutter. Uh, and he raises super small. And I remember, I'm pretty sure I time banked this hand, and I almost shoved, uh, just because I think. But when he raised so small, I just think that he has some kind of overpair he's flattening me with, and I mean, the only clean outs I have is to a 4, basically. Uh, don't think if I get snapped, I mean, my jack could be live, I guess, but so I just decided to fold. It's a spot though, maybe if it was someone more aggressive that sometimes I can shove and get folds, but I just decided to fold. Trying not to spew as much. Raise 6-5 suited and get folds. So this table's, we'll start watching more of the table to get an idea about it. Just see what's going on. Right here, as you can see, they're playing a hand. Princess Dock's double barreling and getting shoved on, and so that was an interesting hand. Princess Dock turns, she has top pair with an open ender, and probably bluffing you turns a set, and they get it in, and Princess Dock wins. Pretty nice. I don't play a hand till here. I'm going to be raising blind versus blind with a jack. He calls, and it's just a good board to barrel. I mean, he's calling wide, and I mean, I want to see bet there a lot. My deuce is good, and just take down the pot. And he's all in. Next hand I play is Jack 10 suited. Get all folds. So I wasn't really playing many pots post flop at this table. No one was really playing back at me that much. And he's all in. I fold. Next hand I get queens. I get called. Whoa, what happened there? Alright, I get queens. Get flatted by SB Rounder. Same thing I did when I had Jack 7 versus him. I c-bet the flop. It's more of a drawing board this time. Not as dry as the 3, 5, 6 flop, but still same thing. So I'm just gonna c-bet, and he knows I'm capable of c-betting folding, obviously, and he just folds. So what can you do? And the next hand I play, I get king 9 in the big blind. It's a spot where, I mean, he's shoving so wide there. He has set 16 big blinds, and I know he's a good player, and he understands that he basically can be shoving almost not any two, but he's going to be shoving a very wide range, and king high is easily a call versus him, and he happens to have king jack. So, and I lose that pot, and I double up. Probably the next best player, or the best other player at the table. But it's fine. We'll try to get some back. And I get move tables again. And this time I have Stam Dog, who doesn't have many chips. Nordberg, who's pretty aggressive. Argentina boy, who's good and aggressive. Um, Card Shark 13, I didn't really know who it was. And Blind Granny, I've seen it. There's so many chips at this table that when I got here, I was pretty excited to start playing some pots. So I'm just going to play out these hands and we'll see how the game flow goes. And it's around the middle of the tournament, so it's going to be a lot of hands. So this hand, I raise blind versus blind, ace high, obviously, and I c-bet the all-heart board against Argentina boy, and he folds. It's a pretty good board to c-bet. Blind versus blind, even though he's going to be, I guess he could be floating a lot, but he just didn't that hand. And I raise king 9 off on the button, and Card Shark 3-bets me. So I'm already getting 3-bet by Card Shark, and I just got here. The next hand, I get queens. And Nordberg raises, and I just flat. I'm pretty deep, and I know I'm going to mask my hand. And he c-bets that flop, and I'm calling. It's a king 5-7, 2-diamond board. He's going to be c-betting that board almost every time, I believe. And I mean, I have queens, and I have the best hand a lot. So I call. I check behind the turn to get him to try to either bluff the river, or I'm value betting the river if he checks every time, or a lot of times. And I call, and he has tens. So I guess he was value betting his tens, thinking I had eights or something in a hand that I call with. I don't think he was bluffing the river, thinking that I ever have a king, so I probably don't check back. He doesn't think I check back a king a lot on the turn, even though I would sometimes a lot. And so that's why I just flatted queens pre, call the flop, and I was value betting the river, so I guess I got the same result. But I just get him, I induce him to bluff rivers when I check the turn, hands that he can't go to showdown with. And if he has a king, he's calling my turn bet, and it's almost the same thing, except for this way, at least I get his bluff range to be higher. Because if I bet the turn and he just calls, it's going to go check, check, river, most likely. And it's the same thing as if I lose value from hands that he could bluff with. Because on the turn, he's not going to be two barreling too much, I don't think, once I call on that 9. The 9 is not really a good card for him to barrel. But he's definitely the type of player that if I check back the turn, it could look like I have a hand like 8s or some kind of, some jacks, 10, like some hand like that I could fold on the river to. Is it what he's thinking? And he could, try to bluff his misdraws or anything in his range. He's pretty aggressive, so I play the hand differently against different people. I almost could get 3 streets of value versus him, but this is the way I played the hand this time. So anyway, another nice pot. So now I'm up to 37K, and like I said, this table has so many chips. It's pretty ridiculous. I have over 100 big blinds. Argentina almost has 100. Card Shark goes over 100. Granny almost has 200 big blinds. So it's going to be you're going to have to be playing a lot of post flop in this tournament. Hadn't really gotten a read on Blind Granny yet, but he's 4-betting right there that's interesting. So let's take a look at this hand and how aggressive Nordberg is. Was it this one? All right. Blind Granny races the button. Maybe Nordberg had history with him. 3 bets from the small blind. I fold the king 4. Then he gets 4-bet. Almost a min 4-bet. A little bit over a min 4-bet. And I guess he thought Blind Granny was aggressive enough to be 4-bet folding here. I hadn't played with them. I'm sure they have some history. And so Nordberg 5 balls, the queen jack. And he's up against the worst hand possible, which is queens. So Blind Granny gets more chips. I just decided to walk Argentina board there with the queen 5. I'm not trying to play too many pots with him out of position with queen 5 off. So I give him a walk, and Stam Dog is Argentina boy wins that hand, and I get moved tables again. So this table is very European. He's really aggressive. I've played with him. Lead Boots is really good. He's a very good player. and I position on him, which is good. And Abadaba, yeah, is another player I play with a bunch. Is pretty aggressive as well, and I haven't played with the other two. So that's my read as I came to this table. Is the only read I had was on Lead Boots, Very European, and Abadaba. So the hands I play with him will be different than the hands I play with these two. And I raise King Queen. I flop an open ender and the backdoor flush draw and 2 overs. And I see bet and he folds. So that's one of the first hands that came to the table. And we'll see if any interesting hands get going along the way. I'm going to speed it up on hands I'm not playing. Know it all wins. King 7 suited. Just fold to the 3x of Tin Pupini. Alright. And in this hand, we have ace 7 suited in the small blind. And I didn't. Alright, that's why I didn't play this hand. Lead Boots 3 bets. So, as you can see, this table is already pretty aggressive. I just got here and there's already been like three bets. And people are playing hands left and right. Now, this hand is interesting. Let's see what happens here. Just to get an idea of how aggressive and just the dynamic of this table. I just want to replay this hand. Fold 8 deuce. Raise, call. Flops queen high, C bets, which is pretty standard for Very European. He's really aggressive, like I said. Abba just calls. Turns an ace. And Very Europeans, 2 barreling range here is huge because it's such a good card to double barrel. If you're going to barrel the flop, you're going to be barreling that turn a lot too, especially if, I guess, when he has it. So he gets called, and he's going to value bet the river really small. I actually think Abadaba could fold here, but he calls. I think he time bank calls with Queen 10. And he has the ace 8, so that's the type of dynamic that we have going on here. Get Jack 7, just raise it up, everyone folds. I'm gonna be 3-betting Lead Boots enough soon, I believe, unless I can move tables again. I haven't replayed this hand history forever, so I'm not really positive what happens. I'm just basically playing as I go, or commentating as I go here. And I don't play a hand for a couple hands, and I get ace jack here. I definitely could squeeze there. It's a spot I would a lot, but I just decided to flax. He's 3xing, and I actually wanted Abadaba to shove, and I would call. And here, he c bets, and I call. Because, here I can have the best hand a lot. I have backdoor, flush draw, backdoor, straight gutters, but I can turn. There's a lot of good turns for me, and I have the ace of clubs. So I decided to float him. And then he bets a little over half over pawn on the turn, and I fold. I don't know enough about him to double float there, or even if I could have the best hand. So I raise King Jack, Jack high flop. He just folds. So it looks like he's defending his blind with any 2. There are a lot of hands, and he's one of those players. 3x's every hand that he opens with, and he's going to be barreling a lot. So that's my read on him so far. And 3x's, and I force, and I just call. He bets, and I'm check raising. It's a good flop to check raise. And I actually decide to barrel this turn. All right. So let's look at this hand. Let's see here. So like I said, he's probably opening really wide here. I have 4s, and it's pretty really wet board. 8, 9, 10, 2 clubs. It's about as non-dry as you can get, and I have 4s and no club, and I basically have no hand. It's a flop I would check raise with queen jack. It's a flop I would check raise flush draws. It's a flop I would check raise air, or even maybe some sets in two pairs. So he bets 1,400, less than half the pot, and I decided to check raise at 38.79. Sets up a good bet sizing on the turns. A lot of good turns that I can barrel him off if he has maybe a jack that he can call with, or I really just want him to fold, but he calls. Really good turn for me to barrel now that I've checked raised. I mean, a lot of his eyes, a lot of my range is flush draws. A lot of hand, maybe he probably just thinks flush draws, and he has to fold basically any hand now that is in the set, or he has to fold. He even has to fold queens or hands like that. I mean, um, with it, I haven't played any hands against him, so he doesn't have a read on me. So I think he's gonna err on the tighter side right now. Just a really good turn to barrel, and I bet 6,200 because I don't want. Because it looks like I'm never folding. I have 23K behind, and obviously I'm folding every time. But so he requests time actually and folds. So I mean, there's a lot of hands that he could have like jacks or uh, hands that he just has to fold that turn to. It's just a good turn for me to barrel, and so I win that pot, decent pot. And the next hand that I play is actually a big hand as well. He raises again, 3x. I have ace jack. This time I call it again. And it's a really good flop for me, and I check it. And now I'm going to actually lead the turn. I mean, I could check again, but it looks like I could. There's so many hands that I could be barreling that turn with, like if I had king queen, or if I had the ace of hearts, or if I had even a 10, I'd probably would barrel that turn. So trying to get know-it-all to call with any piece or any draws that he has here, um, to get max value from his range. And he calls, and I'm betting the river also again. At this point, I think he has some kind of 10, or I mean, I don't think he ever really has a jack or a flush. So I'm value betting, and he folds. I actually could check there, but I just didn't think he would ever really be bluffing the river. And I think I lose value from hands like if he has nines or eights, and people just don't like to fold. And but I guess I could check call like to get his bluffs, more bluffs in his range. But I just didn't think he was the type of player to bluff at all. And I thought I was losing value from any 10 or any mid pair that he could call river bets to. So I decided to bet there. I mean, you could play differently. It's just player dependent, really. And here I have ace deuce, and I just fold. I could 3-bet there, but I decided not to. And this is the end of the first video. Right now we're about 3/8 of the way through the tournament, and so I will be making part 2 after this, and I will hopefully keep running good and getting chips. All right.